Netflix, not exactly known for having the most extreme movies, but on this list, I've got well over 10 of the most graphic movies on Netflix, guaranteed to make your eyes water. Thanks to Sundays for Dogs for sponsoring this video, but we've got Terminator Santa's...
Oh, Santa Claus?
Yeah, it's
Fucking Santa Claus!
Some spicy movies with both Scarlett Johansson and Megan Fox committing adultery, and some of the most brutal action ever included on Netflix.
Do you hear that?
Or what?
But we'll get started with my bottom pick, a grindhouse flick that covers all the graphic bases, a raunchy and ridiculously violent Christmas flick. Yes, a Christmas flick titled Christmas, Bloody Christmas. Now this is one for the metalheads watching. Not only does it feature like a heavy metal inspired score, but there are a bunch of references to metal music I think only real metalheads are gonna get. But Christmas Bloody Christmas is drenched in both blood and neon. There's also a surprising amount of sex in this movie. Not necessarily amount. I believe there's only one sex scene, but it too is a doozy.
You don't want to in a toy store?
No. Well, maybe. I mean...
Sounds like you don't want to in a toy store.
It's just kind of weird. Like, I feel sorry for the kid that's gonna go in tomorrow, buy a teddy bear covered in
Oh my God, we're gonna scar him, that poor child.
Narrative-wise, it's basically just a robotic Santa on the loose killing people. There's not really much of a story here, so don't go looking for one. You're not really gonna find it. And the odd pace and sort of chatty nature of the first half of this movie is probably gonna turn more casual viewers off. So is the gore, but if you like kind of hardcore, edgy stuff like this, I know it's my bottom pick on the list, but it's one of the more extreme movies featured on this list, trust me. My number 9 pick is also pretty extreme, but in a very different way. This is a Netflix original starring Mila Kunis titled Luckiest Girl Alive. Now, this is based on a best-selling novel, and it is a story of a young girl's sexual assault. Repeated, actually. And I know that doesn't sound like a fun movie to watch. It's really not at all. But when comparing this to other movies with similar subject matter, movies like The Accused with Jodie Foster, this thing packs a punch. Now, that may not be what you're in the mood for, but it's a very effective movie, pretty raw story, and I gotta say, the way that the story is structured through a basic series of flashbacks and things actually packs an even bigger punch. I was surprised where this movie ultimately ended up, even if the journey to get there is pretty upsetting. Next up, we've got a brutal action movie, one of the most brutal action movies added to Netflix in recent months. Before that, I want to hit you with a few honorable mentions. Some graphic movies that just did not quite make the cut, like Subservience, starring Megan Fox. Yeah, it's a Megan Fox movie, but as far as Megan Fox movies go, this one ain't bad. She plays a sex robot. That's basically the plot. In terms of fembot movies, though, I thought this was pretty excellent. Kill Bok-soon is an awesome South Korean thriller that has a lot in common with John Wick, and not just the action, but it revolves around this sort of secret society of assassins, and again, feels a lot like John Wick. And Loving Adults is a pretty spicy thriller. There's a lot of cheating going on in this movie, and some Alfred Hitchcock level shenanigans, I guess we'll say. I don't want to give too much away with this one. This one was a bit too slow for my taste, but as far as Hitchcockian thrillers go, I thought it was actually pretty decent. If you want a movie that hits you over the head from the very first scene to the last, you gotta go with Tom Hardy in Havoc. This is the latest movie from director Gareth Evans. If you don't know that name, he created The Raid Redemption, The Raid 2, two of the greatest action movies released this century so far. And while Havoc isn't as good of a movie as those are, and not as good of a story, the action is every bit as unhinged. Maybe a little less cinematic, you know, this being a Netflix original movie. The Raid 2 just has such an incredible look to it. It's this big, big movie. This is shot like a Netflix original movie, but with absolutely unhinged, brutal action that literally does not stop. It is exhausting. As much as I like this movie and movies like it, and as much as I like Tom Hardy, this one kind of had me rolling my eyes a few times just because of how long some of these scenes run on. I'll say though, when it comes to action movies, complaining that the action scenes carry on too long, it's one hell of a nitpick.
Don't forget, I know what you did.
You have no idea what I did.
But if you like movies like Havoc, Netflix has a bunch. I didn't want to include more like it here on this list, but I recommend checking out The Shadow Strays, which I believe is based on like a comic book series. There's also Headshot, which feels a lot like The Raid and The Raid 2, maybe even more brutal. And The Night Comes For Us, one of the most brutal Netflix original action movies, one that I would put above Havoc, but I have recommended that movie to death here on the channel. So we will move on to my next pick, which is actually based on a disturbing true story in Compliance. Now this is a little drama. It plays out almost like a stage play. It's all taking place in one fast food restaurant, mostly in the back kitchen. And as I said, it's the disturbing true story of a man who was doing prank phone calls pretending to be a police officer, and he somehow convinced the manager of a fast food restaurant to do terrible things to their employees. Not entertaining things, mind you. This is not a fun, lively movie. No, what happened here is very disturbing. The filmmaking is so effective in Compliance. That's the main reason I'm recommending it. That and the performance from Ann Dowd. She plays the manager. This performance propelled her career. She was in a ton of stuff after this, and it was because of this performance. So the effectiveness of the filmmaking and her performance make this well worth the sub 90-minute runtime.
I'll do everything, that you need.
Believe it or not, on this list of extremely graphic movies, I've got a Woody Allen movie. And it's a Woody Allen movie I think a lot of people either don't know exists or don't know it's a Woody Allen movie. Match Point stars Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and Scarlett Johansson. And I can hardly believe this movie's 20 years old already, but this too is a spicy thriller, much better than Loving Adults, though. And unlike most Woody Allen movies, Match Point feels a lot like a Hitchcock flick. Now, he did this a couple of times in other movies I really liked and recommend, but Match Point is the best. Now, this is a very slow burn, so you gotta be in the mood for that. And honestly, it's probably the least graphic out of anything on this list, but still just top-notch Hitchcockian thriller stuff. I love it. And then another twisted thriller that's got some Hitchcock vibes, but also goes over the top in some really delicious ways, is one they just added, the day I'm releasing this video, Don't Say a Word, starring Michael Douglas and the late Brittany Murphy. What a cool thriller this was back when it released in theaters. It's not just a thriller. I mean, it is a mystery movie. Michael Douglas's wife is kidnapped. Potentially the only woman that can help him is an insane woman played by Brittany Murphy. She's got some information in her head that she can't even get out, and he's got to figure out how to get to it. So this movie's not like Inception, even though it just sounds like I just described it that way. She gives a killer performance. I mean, the way she acted in the trailers when this movie came out sold the movie.
What who wants?
I'll never tell. I'll never tell any of you.
And I'll admit, it does feel a bit old-fashioned at this point. This one, too, is well over 20 years old, but it's still awesome stuff. Now, I'll say my number 4 pick is one of those movies that just seemed like it was designed to appeal to mass audiences. In a lot of ways, it did. Yet, movies like this that appeal to mass audiences rarely hit as hard as Law Abiding Citizen.
Now, this is for your penis, but we'll get to that later.
I honestly couldn't believe how brutal and how kind of awesome this movie was when I originally saw it. So often, little legal dramas like this kind of honestly bore me to tears. Don't get me wrong, I love The Rainmaker and all that kind of stuff. I love a good courtroom drama, but that is not what you get with Law Abiding Citizen. Gerard Butler plays a man out for vengeance, and he does it in a way I'd never seen in a movie before or since. He kind of uses the legal system, gets himself incarcerated, and has a master plan. I mean, his character is very much like the Joker or something like that, like a Batman villain almost. Yet you're on his side, you are rooting for him the whole way through this movie. And like I said, it's got a surprisingly hard edge to it for a movie that was marketed to mass audiences. You'll notice on this list, I've got a lot of stuff that really was not. This one, though, stood out to me as just one of those movies that is just way better than I ever expected it could have been. Something else that's way better than I ever expected it could have been is today's sponsor, Sundays for Dogs. Dog food that most likely helped extend the life of our dog, Peanut. As she got older, Peanut suddenly stopped digesting the food we were giving her. Food that we thought was good food. I mean, it was not cheap, but she began to shed weight quickly, and for a little dog like her, that can be fatal. And I tried a handful of fresh dog food brands, and some of them were okay. They were always messy, and then I heard about Sundays. Not only did she eat and digest Sundays better, but she began to put weight back on immediately. And that's because Sundays is air-dried dog food containing 100% muscle meat, organs, and superfoods with no synthetics or artificial preservatives. So Sundays helps give your dog better nutrition than typical pet store food, but they also deliver it to your door, saving you a trip to the store. But Sundays can also save you money. Because it's air dried, they're not having to spend extra costs on refrigeration or ice packs to get it to your door. They're just focused on a short list of premium ingredients, and they pass on those savings to you. In fact, Sundays can cost up to 40% less than other fresh dog food brands. And for a limited time, my viewers can save 50% off on top of that great price on your first order when you go to sundaysfordogs.com/flick. Again, 50% off your first order. It's a great deal on a product I highly recommend if you've got dogs. But speaking of things I highly recommend, let's get to my top picks on this list. Now, I'm already prepared for the eye rolls on this next one because you feel like you've seen it enough times, but I gotta tell you, I just recently revisited Bram Stoker's Dracula for the Halloween season. I forgot what an amazing Halloween movie this is. Not just that, but it's also a pretty great telling of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I mean, it's pretty loyal to the book, about as loyal as a movie can be, yet Francis Ford Coppola, went insane with the production design on this movie. It went way over budget, crazy costumes, huge, massive, elaborate sets, and tons of vintage photography tricks for the movie. All in camera, bold color palette, and I have not even gotten to the Gary Oldman performance. I mean, the guy has played some of the greatest villains in movie-making history. This might be his best villainous performance. It's insane. The movie's also wildly sexually graphic, bloody as hell, just a visually stunning, eye-popping movie. I had forgotten how bold every single choice Coppola made for this movie was, including having Tom Waits play Renfield. There's just so much awesome stuff in this movie. My latest watch of it, far and away the best time I've had watching Bram Stoker's Dracula. My number 2 pick I consider to be not just extremely graphic, but one of the best movies currently available on Netflix in the US.
Are you sure someone's in there?
Hey, Pete. It's Curtis. Good, copy. FBI standing in front of the door. Open up. Jane! Get away from the door!
A movie I've been recommending since I started making lists. In fact, the first list that included this was my first big video. It's been absent from Netflix for years now. It's back if you've never seen it. This is one of the few movies written and directed by Taylor Sheridan. He did this before he really started doing TV shows like Yellowstone and, all those successful spin-offs. But this came out around the same time as Hell or High Water, which he also wrote, and I feel like those two movies are kind of two of my favorite projects of his. Now, I will warn you, there's some upsetting stuff in Wind River, but it is expertly directed, I think, by him, surprisingly so. Jeremy Renner's fantastic. It's got this great, neo-noir detective story that's got a pretty brutal and hard edge to it. Now, this one's not graphic throughout. It's not pervasive through the whole movie, but there's one scene in particular that is so visceral, it earned a spot on this list, and because the movie's so damn good, it's my number 2 pick. That leaves us with my number 1 pick, which is not only one of the most graphic movies of all time, but it's also one of the best movies to pull off being this graphic. And that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you've been watching Monster, the Ed Gein story on Netflix this October, Ed Gein was a real serial killer that inspired the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or maybe more specifically, he inspired Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But if you've ever seen any of Tobe Hooper's other horror films, movies I love, movies like Life Force and Eaten Alive, I love those movies, but they've got this campy, kind of strange nature to them, which I do love, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre feels like a masterpiece of horror filmmaking, and not just from the visual style, even though that's pretty exceptional in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, there's some cinematography in this movie that's better than I think you probably remember, but the way some of these scenes unfold are expertly directed. I mean, they're not just frightening because of how morbid and disturbing the premise is, they're frightening because of how well he raised the tension level in multiple scenes in this movie before letting it release. Just perfectly done. So many horror movies try to emulate what was achieved with this movie, and in fact, this almost establishes like a template for a subgenre. It has yet to be topped in that subgenre, in my opinion, which is why it's my #1 pick. I hope you found something good to watch on this list, maybe something you've never heard of before. If you did, leave me a like. If you want future recommendations, definitely click that subscribe button to make sure you're following me, but I'll keep making these videos as long as y'all keep watching them. Thanks for watching this extremely graphic Netflix list, and you will see me on the next one.